How's everybody doing today?
Good and you.
My name is Kathy Brunton, and I'm your president here of NAACP. I'm newly elected, so please bear with me if I make errors. It's not from the heart, it's just from the head. I forget. Okay? We're going to start in a few seconds. We're just waiting for everything to be set up properly. When you're ready, you can have a seat. And we want to be respectful of the individuals on the podium. We want to make sure everyone is heard. We want to make sure everything is fair. We want to make sure everything is quiet so they can think out loud if they want to. And we're asking our guests, please respect each other. We're in this here for the people of Mount Vernon. Amen? Okay, we are starting now. My name is Kathy Brunton once again. We want to go into prayer because we want to just make sure God is first. Father God, in Jesus' holy and righteous name, we come before thee right now. We are thanking you for allowing us to be in this house, Lord Jesus. Most of all, we are thanking you for opportunity right now, present ourselves to the public right now, to present the mayor candidates to the public, Lord. Anoint them from the crown of their heads to the very soles of their feet right now, Lord. Creating them a new heart and a new mind. Bless them right now, Lord, to your glory and to your honor. And bless those that thought it not robbery to be here. In Jesus' name, amen. So for the record, we're going to be going on our record. We have questions and answers. If you want a card to write something down, please raise your hand, and I'll be willing to walk and give you a card in a moment. We have to rely on technology, so please bear with us. One thing about technology, it brought us closer together, didn't it? We were far apart, but we were closer together. Gentlemen, are we ready? I'll be with you. I just want to finish what I'm doing here, then I'll come around the room again. Okay? You want to go into a song before we start? They seem to be dealing with something important over there. How many know about the NAACP? Been in existence since 1909, over 100 years. How many know how the NAACP got started? You know how it got started, sir? Bless the Lord. I know you do. It got started, and you think that only people of color started this here? No, they did not. In that beginning, we were all united. We had one voice. We had one cause, and that's to make sure everybody became equal, to make sure everybody had a voice, to make sure everybody had a say-so. It took us a lot of time to get to where we are. And, you know, God is good. We'll come short a lot of the times with so many things that are happening in our lives, but still, prayer changes things, and most of all, prayer changes people. I'm wasting time because my individual is over there somewhere. Are you? Out of respect, will everyone turn their phones off, or at least put them on vibrate or silence?
So we just want to make sure the live feed is straight so everybody can see. I want to go over a few rules and messages to the candidates and the audience. The candidates will start out with 5 minutes each to introduce themselves. Then we'll have questions, 2 minutes each, and possibly be given a minute to respond if necessary. If a candidate happens to mention the opponent, they may be given an additional 30 seconds if they need to respond at the moderator's. We have a buzzer here. You will hear a noise when your time is up. Okay. If you do not answer the question, I may interrupt you and make sure that you are sticking to the question that you were asked. We ask both candidates to be respectful and to not interrupt when the other one is talking. And most importantly, there should be no one else in the building talking when the candidates are talking, including members of the NAACP. You don't have to like or even respect the answer that the candidate's saying, but you do have to listen. If the candidate needs to be interrupted, they will be interrupted by me. And I think those are the rules. Everybody good? Everybody ready? Welcome to the Mount Vernon NAACP 2023 mayoral debate, which I believe is the only debate in this election cycle. She has to do that. Okay, so I'm gonna, what are you doing with the flipping of a coin or something? She's not here. We'll do women first. Mayor, would you like to introduce, you got 5 minutes to introduce yourself? You can flip a coin or something?
Or you can go based on the ballot position.
Then we go back and forth.
Ballot position.
We're just gonna let you, women's first, we're gonna let you start first.
Okay, no problem.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mayor Shawn Patterson Howard. I have served as mayor since January of 2020, and I am born, educated, raised here in the city of Mount Vernon. I received my degree in social work from Howard University. I received my master's degree in public administration from John Jay College, as well as with a concentration in urban planning and urban policy from Hunter. I continue to serve and educate myself at Harvard University in executive leadership and management, as well as municipal leadership. I have worked in the area of human services for 35 years, but of those 35 years, 20 I served in an administrative capacity as executive director or CEO of corporations, where I had to manage budgets, audits, boards of directors, policy, and all of these things. Since I've been mayor, clearly we came in January of 2020, and then in March of 2020, the entire world changed when we were hit with COVID. I definitely had to lead the city and navigate the city through COVID and challenges with our controller. When I ran last time, I said that I would develop relationships on a local, county, state, and federal level. And since coming into office, that is exactly what I've done. I've been able to be respected by my peers and serve in leadership positions with the New York Conference of Mayors. I currently serve as the national president of the African American Mayors Association, over 550 mayors in the country, and I serve as vice chair for the United States Conference of Mayors on the Youth, Health, and Human Services Commission. I also serve in entertainment, arts, culture, and hospitality for the U.S. Conference of Mayors. Some of the highlights that I've been able to accomplish as mayor here in the city of Mount Vernon is bringing in more money than Mount Vernon has ever seen, I think, collectively. We've been able to bring in $163 million for our sewers, $40 million for Memorial Field, $105 million for our bridges with the MTA. We have been able to bring in another, other than the sewer grants, we've been able to bring in another $15 million in grants for youth services, for public safety, as well as for storm recovery and other miscellaneous items. We continue to work here in Mount Vernon to restore the credibility of Mount Vernon, and we look in a second term to be the first mayor reelected in 20 years so that Mount Vernon could experience continuity. It is very important that the city of Mount Vernon have continuity in leadership as the communities around us, which we oftentimes compare ourselves, have continuity. Their mayors have been in office 11, 12, and 16 years. Mount Vernon cannot continue to start over and over. I've delivered on my promises. Memorial Field, which had 5 groundbreakings, is now open, and we finally experienced a ribbon cutting, and it has been operational since September of 2022. I was able to sit there after I received the Democratic nomination back in June of 2019, and I began to work with the county at that time, and I was able to negotiate with them the first $29 million that they allocated to the city of Mount Vernon, and I was there for the election, for the vote that took place in December of 2019 because I had been working with the county since then. Mount Vernon, while the county led that as the project manager, the city of Mount Vernon, through our Department of Public Works, Recreation, the fire department, the police department, the office of the mayor, and our Department of Planning spent thousands of hours working with the city, working with the county, completing tasks. We are here in Mount Vernon, and while we experience a public safety crisis because of badge drain, that has to do with multiple things, that is police reform and an underpaid police department, we have been able to close an unprecedented 80% plus of our homicide cases. Our homicide numbers have stayed flat and are in line with the last 20 years. We've experienced an increase in youth violence, but that's no different than what people have experienced around the country. Additionally, is that one more minute or is that over? I'm not sure what that means. Okay. So some of the things that we have also seen here in the city of Mount Vernon is a tripling of our youth employment services. Mount Vernon is working on its first comprehensive plan since 1968, 55 years, which is going to be the basis for our economic development as we are rezoning our commercial districts in our downtown area, and we're planning focused on the needs of residents of Mount Vernon and not outside interests. We have re-established the IDA. We've been able to collect a lot of back taxes, and we continue to go forward. I look forward to vibrant conversation tonight as we discuss the facts, and the facts are revealed here for the citizens of Mount Vernon to consider. Thank you so much.
I don't need quite 5 minutes. I could sum it up very quickly. Just let me introduce myself for those who don't know me. I'm Andre Wallace. I've been in Mount Vernon for 35 years. I'm not a generational guy. I came from the Bronx 38 years ago when I decided to move to Mount Vernon for a better life. And I've watched Mount Vernon decline since. Right now, I'm looking at what's going on here in our city, and I'm running because of the differences. As you see, the mayor just spoke and presented what she thinks is going, but a lot of us have a different view of what's going on. But before I go there, let me first thank the NAACP for hosting this debate so that we can all, have an idea of what candidates are running. So I thank you for doing that and making sure that everybody's heard. Also, I just want to say, just as you mentioned, tonight I don't want to go through any of the mudslinging or the hurdling of garbage thrown back and forth, okay? I respect that the NAACP is doing this. I respect the church that we're in. I respect the office of the mayor. And I respect Sean Patterson Howard as a black woman as well, so I will not be doing those kind of things. And let's keep it clean. Let's keep it on the facts. And that's why I'm here tonight. The facts is this. The cost of living in Mount Vernon has been going up, yet our chance of living is going down. Crime is out of control. Taxes is out of control. The building department is a hot mess. It takes 9 to 14 months to even get a basic permit. Businesses are closing down before they can open up. And you don't have to believe me, you can ask some of the business owners that tried to open up in this city. So we are looking at a serious, serious problem. Mount Vernon is in trouble. Our finances is in trouble, okay? And if I believe that we can continue to go down this road without us going bankrupt or being tanked, I would not be standing here today. For one, I can tell you right now, the city is in bad shape. We just lost a lawsuit that I told them that they couldn't win for $15 million. We lost another lawsuit that they stopped me from settling. We lost $4.2 million. And they're laughing because every day they get up in the morning, they're getting $600 a day in interest while we sit around wondering how we're gonna deal with that. So as we continue to go down the road in a path that is unsustainable, you can have people say continuity, but continuity is not all good, okay? If that was the case, we'll all be with the same girlfriend we had before, or the same boyfriend. All continuity is not good continuity, okay? It's just that people are saying, hey, we want a second term. But you know what? You have to prove that. And I've seen a lot going on in the last 3 weeks, but I haven't seen a lot going on in the last 3 years. And it's unlikely that, you know, this is all going on 3 weeks before the election. So what we're gonna learn today and what we're gonna be able to debate about is the facts. And that's what I wanna stay on, the facts. So thank you all for coming out. Hope everybody can hear what they need to hear, and your questions, I'm looking forward to answering. Thank you so much.
Now we're going to... Now we're going to get to the question section. The president is going to ask the first question. You will have 2 minutes to answer the question, each of you.
Good evening, everyone. I just want you to relax. I want you to feel at ease, and prayer works. If elected, what is your first priority and why, and how do you plan to implement it?
You want me to go first?
Well, she went first. We're going to piggyback.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, I'm first. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is work on the taxes, because we're going to get rid of a lot of these taxes that they call fees. But if they were only taxes, if they were fees, why do taxpayers only have to pay it? Those are some things we have to eliminate. The sewer fee we don't need. We've already got, like she said, $150 million to fix the sewers, so there's no need to charge the people for the taxes on the sewers. This garbage tax is out of control. A lot of homeowners don't understand. Renters don't understand, but the homeowners do. We're feeling the pinch. We're putting grandma in the street, and that's a problem, okay? So the next thing I would also work on is our public safety. Too many of our kids are getting killed. Too many of our seniors are afraid to walk the streets. It's a horrible situation. I want to also work on the building department. We say we don't have money, but we can't generate the right amount of money if you can't get a permit. You can't do business in Mount Vernon. You want to have fun, go to Home Depot or someplace and ask them, that you would like solar panels on your roof, and they'll laugh at you when you say you live in Mount Vernon. That's a shame. We need to change all of those things. Those are 3 priorities. There's a whole lot of priorities that Mount Vernon needs, because nothing seems to be working in Mount Vernon. We need to change that.
Thank you so much. And so should I be reelected, I will continue to address public safety, which is one of our biggest priorities. All of our unions have been without contracts for at least 6 years. And working with the comptroller, we are identifying funds so that we could give contracts, but also not cripple our taxpayers because of 6 and 7 years based on retro payments, which could easily cost the city of Mount Vernon, just in retro payments, $20 million amongst our unions. We will continue to improve the building department. We did get OpenGov in October of 2022, and we have seen much more rapid turnarounds in our building permits. We will continue to work to expand with our plan examiners. Mount Vernon did not have plan examiners. We have plan examiners in place. We are also working with our Assemblyman Pretlow to fund digitization of the building department, bringing in Laserfiche, because there are no digital plans right there. We will continue in our economic development, focusing on our comprehensive plan and bringing in businesses like Starbucks, bringing in a hotel, bringing in developers like McKissick and McKissick, bringing in Gensler and Penrose. These are people who are tested and tried and true in urban development and redevelopment without gentrification and displacing our residents, but bringing economic revitalization. We will continue to address public safety as we have with our federal partners while we work to build our police department back. We will continue to provide services to our seniors and our youth. And specifically around the sewer and the refuse tax, it is very interesting because the sewer and the refuse fees, which are dedicated to those services, they bring in $8 million of revenue. So to eliminate them, we would have to replace that revenue, which would be at a 16 to 17% tax increase.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I address that?
Well,
Yeah, I address that. I can have a minute. First of all, if you look and do the math, the same amount of the sewer fees and all the fees that were taxed only come out to the equivalent of the jobs that were created to pay those salaries. There is no benefit to it at all. Okay, so that's one. Two, police are leaving in record numbers. We've lost over 50% of our police officers, not only because of contract, because they don't want to work under these conditions. They don't want to work under this administration, and that's a problem. And the building department is a real problem. I'm a building contractor, okay? Contractor and development. We do a lot of buildings in Mount Vernon and all abroad, but not in Mount Vernon anymore because we can't get a permit. So I don't know how it's been getting better and better and implementing all of these things, and nothing seems to be working. Okay, I can go into the next town, Pelham, and come out with a permit in 15 minutes. I can go into New Rochelle, come out with the same day. I don't even have to go to Yonkers. I load my stuff up in the computer, and by the end of the day or the next morning, I have a permit. Okay, but Mount Vernon, for some reason, you never seem to get one. I don't understand how we're ever going to get ahead with that, and I don't know how we're going to make money.
Rebuttal?
you have 1 minute if you want.
1 minute.
And that's, and
So
then we're
thank
moving
you.
on after that.
So the building department is a legacy issue. In 2018, the building department was named the second worst building department in the state of New York. A lot of the changes we needed to do the building department, we weren't even able to start until 2022 when we were able to gain access to funds to be able to hire the requisite people who were qualified to do the job, and we continue to do that. Additionally, with the sewer fees actually only help to pay for those who maintain the sewers. The $163 million that we received are for capital repairs, replacement of the sewers, not operation of the sewers. And so if you've ever experienced a sewer backup, you definitely need a team to come out there so that you don't get Legionnaire's disease and your children are not overcome by methane gas that comes into your house when these sewer backups happen on a regular basis. This has been happening for 20 years, and unfortunately, I did not see it addressed for many, many years until we came into office.
So thank you. So I wanted to say this, I meant to say this in the beginning. One thing most people can agree on is the city needs a lot of work. And most of the issues have existed for decades, but are getting worse. You are each campaigning to be the next mayor of the city of Mount Vernon, and while no one person can correct everything, every wrong, we need you to answer these questions. What do you plan to do? Not who did what or who didn't what, but what is your plan to help this? There probably won't be a traditional honeymoon period for the winner of this election. Because the people just want to know what your plan is, and the people are frustrated, and they want to know why they should vote for you. These next set of questions are about public safety, which is dear to me. Each of you started first last time, you start first, Mayor. How are you going to keep us safe? What is your plan? 2 minutes.
So regarding public safety, as I said, we're working to get our police department contracts. That is one of the major reasons that there is badge drain. We have had actually 90 officers transfer or retire in the last 3.5 years. Some of them transferred because of salary, and others transferred because they'd never been given an opportunity to transfer. And with police reform, they were now giving opportunities to transfer, especially your black and brown cops, and that's just true. Secondly, because we are short with police, we have partnered with the county, with the New York State Patrol, the state, New York State Police, the FBI, the ATF, the United States Marshals. And as I said, we are closing cases as never before. There were organizations that were created because there were open homicides. We have closed over 80% of our homicides, which is the highest in the country, as well as shootings. They say that the numbers of crime have skyrocketed, but they only continue to focus on one small thing. Actually, the number of homicides have not increased, rapes have not increased, shootings and confirmed shootings have not increased in the city of Mount Vernon. What has increased is property crime because of inflation and because of poverty rising. And so crimes against people have not increased. Crimes of property have increased. And that is factual, and it is in the statistics and can be proven. And so we will continue to work with our local partners and our regional partners to reform our police department. And we will also work with our community to put the public back in public safety. We're creating an Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement. We are working with our ring bell camera system to get at least 500 ring bells out to the community for residents and businesses who need them. We are expanding our surveillance throughout the community. We just did a gun buyback program, which netted more guns received and taken in than ever in the history of Mount Vernon. We'll continue to do innovative things while we work to rebuild our police department.
Well, it's a whole different story between what was said and what the PBA president said, because crime is rising up, and we can always see that. We can all see that. That's no brainer. But what I'm not going to talk about what about the problems. I'm going to talk about what we can do, like put back the speed cameras. Okay, that can also detect motor vehicles, and it also protects the area, because you could see those red light cameras also patrol the area. If you were able to have those in place, maybe we could have solved the crime of the young boy who was stabbed on the corner of Lincoln and 22. Also, what we need to do is make sure that we get the spot shotters up and running again, because we don't have that. We need to also be able to put more police officers on the street. I understand we have badge rain, okay? I understand that but there are so many other ways to do it. You can take police officers from behind the desk and put civilians there so that they can get on the street. The problem is we need more police presence. You know, and when somebody's killed in the area and in our city, pretty much, and the response is, if somebody wants to kill you, they're going to kill you anyway. That is not a response from somebody that's in real leadership. What we need to do is turn around and make sure, okay, that we have more police on the street, more cameras. I know the Ring doorbell situation because I started that before I left office. To make sure that we have more police presence and other people can access cameras so we can solve crimes. I don't believe that we've been, solving all of these homicides the most ever, and we have not been doing all of those things. I know that for a fact. The record shows, I always say go to the facts, go to the statistics, go to the record. And what is being said is not correct. And I can tell you right now, you'll have a big disparity between what she's saying and what the PBA president and everybody else is saying.
Mayor Patterson,
Thank you.
1 minute.
I really ask that you read. Please go to the city's website and go to the police department statistical crime information so that you could read it for yourself. 2016, 11 murders. 2022, 4. I mean, that is a decrease in murders. And when we're talking about putting more police on the street, it also comes at an expense. It was stated that they would hire 40 more police. One police officer makes $45,567 at hire. With benefits, it's $80,000. If you hire 40 more police, that is $3.2 million added to our tax base. How are we paying it? If you are hiring police officers with family because of their medical care, they would make $102,000 with benefits. That would be $4.1 million added to the tax base. That is a fact. We have to find a way to pay for it. And insofar as the ring cameras were removed because the former controller did not pay a $1 million bill, which has been, red light cameras have been removed. And we are in the process of reinstating that contract as we have now paid off a $1 million debt. And red light cameras without surveillance do not catch crime. They catch people who drive fast.
Thank you.
The red light cameras
One
are
minute,
operative
one minute,
all
one
the
minute, 1
time.
minute.
Okay, they do, and you can look up on a red light camera. Okay, excuse me.
No. We're going to go to the next question.
Okay.
We're going to go to the next question. It's not gonna be
Y'all
fast.
we all both spoke about badge drain. Badge drain has been a problem for decades, and it's not exclusive to Mount Vernon. But what is your plan to decrease badge drain and retain our officers and make salaries more competitive? So you start first.
Yes.
First of all,
2 minutes.
we all know that the police are overworked and underpaid, okay? But we all know that we have to also take them off of this rotating shift because it's not conducive to their health and to their family, period. People need to know when they are able to be home with their families and not. That's one. Two, dealing with adding more officers, we have a program that we started a long time ago with the auxiliaries. I was there. Auxiliary officers. We have now trained them into being peace officers. If you know, peace officers can move into the next category, carry guns, and work part-time as well. You can add them to smaller shifts in places like schools because we took out all of the school resource officers. You can put them back in, okay, so that we can have some of the children protected. With all the shootings going around the country right now, we need to make sure that we have police presence, okay? Also, okay, when they look at the overall policing, yes, she says that it costs $4.something million, $4.1 million and all that stuff, but you know, the police department's budget was reduced by $1 million. So why not put that money back in so that we can get police officers with that? When I was there, we boosted police up to 212 police. That's full complement. Okay, right now, we're minus. We're about at 160 police. This is unacceptable. It's not gonna work, but you have to do combinations and take some of the police out of the buildings, out of the office, put them on the street and let civilians do that work and the paperwork inside. Police have to be on the street. We have to be safe. We have to protect the community. And that is how we need to do things. It's not having, we can't afford to have police sitting inside when we have so much crime outside. We need to change this. We need to do better.
It's very easy to talk what needs are without being able to calculate what the fiscal costs are. So as I stated before, in order for us to give the police department the raise that would not even bring them comparable to their surrounding communities, it would cost us about $3.5 million in just salaries, not benefits, going forward per year, and it would cost us up to $15 million in retro. The City of Mount Vernon taxpayers cannot afford that. Insofar as auxiliary, we have expanded auxiliary and we are using auxiliary as peace officers at many of our community events to reduce the amount of unnecessary overtime, because for a basketball tournament or a community event, you do not need police, and when an auxiliary officer would do. Additionally, we did not decrease the police budget. We've spoken a lot about badge drain, and so when an experienced police officer leaves at $92,000 a year, and you replace them with someone at $45,000 a year, clearly the amount of the budget decreases, not because we've eliminated positions, but because new police officers are hired at 50% the cost. We still are budgeted for 212 police officers, but as many cities across the country have experienced attrition due to retirements or transfers, we have not cut one single position in the police department. 92,000 plus overtime leaving, replaced with a $45,000 police officer. You just said that we've had badge drain. That is not a reduction in police, that is a reduction in top pay because we have newer police. So I just wanted to make sure again that we have the mathematical facts. I was asked to touch on the school. In 2018, the SRO contract, I was asked by the moderator to touch on the schools. In 2018, the SRO contract and grant with the school district ended. When COVID came and the schools closed, we did not bring the SROs back as we had started experiencing badge drain, and we did not have them, and the school district refused to pay for them. The school district receives 62 cents of your tax dollar. The city operates on 25 cents of your tax dollar. The school district's budget is 2.5 times that of the city. We asked the school district to pay for the SROs, as many districts did not. As many districts do. Instead of being willing to pay for a $92,000 SRO coming out of Mount Vernon, they are now paying $126,000 for a county paid and trained SRO. That is not an efficiency in budget. That is extra money. And if they would have had the conversation in 2021, we would have been able to work something out at a much lesser cost for the citizens of Mount Vernon.
First of all, you know, you have to listen carefully to what people say. You said you didn't have any money for police. You said we're budgeted for 211 police. 212, great, wonderful. But we only have about 168 police. So then when you say there's no money to add police, then you're wrong, because there's money to add police. What about that budget, and where is the money if we're short 40 police officers? That's one. Two, when we look at how we are running the police department, okay, and you are pretty much allowing, you know, the mayor's office and other people to dictate how our cities run, the police department can't function properly. We don't have the right staff, we don't have the right people. We don't even have the right people in leadership in the police department because they were retired without knowing that they're retired by a letter. This is not how you do things, okay? And then you expect the morale to be up, okay? Hold on, may I? Oh, that was 1 minute, but you gave her 4 minutes. Okay, thank you.
Off. Y'all was hearing me when y'all shouldn't hear me, so I turned my mic off. Do you have any plans to bring back recruitment, police recruitment, the test in Mount Vernon, so that we don't have to keep pulling from the county a list of people who did not take the test from Mount Vernon? And that's part of the reason they don't want to stay, because they didn't take the test from Mount Vernon. But they take the job till they get some experience and then they move on. So we're gonna bring back our own recruitment test.
Absolutely. We had a recruitment test, I believe, in 2021 was the first recruitment test. We were able to get Mount Vernon residents who passed the physical, who passed the written test and the mental evaluation, and hired about 45 police officers off of that test. And as you stated, in 2016, they made the list a 4-year list. And after about 3 classes out of 8, we were hiring non-Mount Vernon residents, and then that list ran out, and we were hiring people who never took the Mount Vernon test. They took the county test and the towns and villages test and never intended to come to Mount Vernon, but they were hired because we had no list, and it had gone on for 4 years, and with COVID, there were no abilities to give tests. And so that is one of the reasons that we've had such a mass exodus, because if you take a county test and then you expect to be paid $120,000 when you start, or at your top pay in some of these other departments, and top pay here is about $30,000 less, they're not going to stay. And so you've heard that there was a class of 9 and 8 left and 1 is still here. They all took the county tests. None of them were from Mount Vernon. Many of them came from police families in those other communities, and they went back to the communities that pay them $30,000 and $40,000 and maybe $50,000 more than the city of Mount Vernon. And so yes, we have a test scheduled for September. The deadline for that test is in July. I believe it's July 6th, and we have recruitment videos out. We're doing recruitment, and we are encouraging Mount Vernon residents to please apply for this test, because even though sometimes right now we make less, We have also seen that there is a different level of commitment and stability from those Mount Vernon officers. But again, it is hard to keep even Mount Vernon officers when they get into their top tiers when other cities are paying them $30,000 to $35,000 more. So we have to get a contract, but again, a contract in a way that does not cripple the taxes in Mount Vernon and evict our residents.
Can you repeat that question again?
The question was, what are your plans to bring back, do you plan to bring back, if elected, the recruitment test in Mount Vernon, so we don't have to continue pulling from the county list? Most people that take that county test did not plan to become Mount Vernon police officers, and they leave when they can.
Absolutely. That should have been done a long time ago. That hasn't been done for quite some time, and we need to just bring that back. And everything that was said was correct. You know, people do take the test for the county, and then they get here and they leave. But what we need to do is when people come here, if we training them, you should have a minimum time of which you need to stay here before you can transfer out. And that way we can make sure that when they're transferring out, okay, we also, when they do transfer out, we also can get reimbursed from whichever municipality that they go to, so that we can be repaid, okay, for the money that we put out to train these officers. We're letting them go too easily. We're not, and we're losing the money, okay? We need to focus on making sure that we're very fiscally responsible. Right now, we are not. That is why we are in the problems that we are in. That's why the next solution that they always come up with is raise your taxes. We can't afford to keep doing that. That is the wrong way to do business.
1 minute rebuttal.
Wait, I want to give you a 1 minute follow-up, but I want to ask a specific question. I understand what the problem is, but if elected mayor, what will you do to help retain officers, to bring up the salaries, to make it more? I mean, there has to be, is there a plan for either one of the candidates? We know what the problem is, but is there a plan to fix that?
Well, the plan right now is really going to take Mount Vernon to become more fiscally stable, and we are in a rough patch. What we are doing regarding GML Section 72C, which is about the transfer of police, is we have made the list of where they've transferred. We know that the per diem rate for a cop that we have trained, well, look, we've been able to identify about $300,000 that we are going after. And our former councilman was a legislator, and it would have been great for them to make tougher legislation so that the city can follow it through. That's where legislation takes place. The city cannot act where there is not tight legislation. And so in 4 years, as a councilman, there was badge drain, and why didn't we do anything? We are doing something about it now. We are going after $300,000. The biggest violator is Westchester County, where over 20 people have left, and they have a salary of about $124,000.
Same question, if elected, what is your plan?
First of all, $300,000 is not going to do anything for us. Second of all, we need some real money. When we did a survey a long time ago, we know Mount Vernon has money because $395 million a year is spent outside of Mount Vernon from people inside of Mount Vernon. That's one. So there is money around, and we don't have to go begging the county and everybody else with a tin cup. What we need to do is be smart with our business, okay? Here's a quick one. They always talk about that there's $39 million, $40 million of outstanding taxes. Before I left office, I created legislation to sell off tax liens, which we can do. You could generate $40 million right there, okay? And it's a very easy thing to do because all other municipalities do it, except for us. You gotta think smart. You gotta be able to do business right. You have to run this. Mount Vernon is a corporation, and everybody here that owns a home is an investor in that corporation and a stockholder. We wanna see our values increase, not decrease. We gotta get smart with business. We gotta do things right.
We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on from public safety to the next issue that is plaguing everybody and bothering everybody. Westchester is taxes. Westchester County collects the highest property taxes in New York State. Mount Vernon has the highest property taxes in Westchester County. More affluent communities don't mind paying more in taxes because they can see their tax dollars at work. And I'm going to pass the mic to the president, who is a homeowner, and let her ask these questions, next set of questions.
This may not bother a whole lot of people, but it bothers me. Given the existing budget constraints, how would you stretch taxpayer dollars and still meet the current police financial obligations?
Okay, first of all, I'll stop throwing money out the window. We've been doing that a long time with pilot programs that don't benefit this city, okay? And it falls on the taxpayers. Pilots are payment in lieu of taxes. We've made tons of bad deals. You look at some buildings that we have, even the one by Hartley Park, paying $48,000 in taxes. We're not collecting the money. Everybody else has to pick up the tab, especially when they can't afford to even generate enough revenue to pick up the garbage. These bad business decisions have made Mount Vernon fall back. Every time you do one of those, you set us back 30 years, which I don't believe they should even be 30 years long. That's one way of making sure that we are fiscally responsible and do things properly. You have to remember, everything we do, okay, costs money. Incompetence is expensive. And that is something that we have been dealing with for a long time. So what we need to do is do things in a business manner, run the city as it should be run, and stop going to the taxpayers and taxing them out of their homes. People worked hard to have a living, to create a home, to create an environment. They deserve to retire with dignity. They deserve to make sure that they can pass on this investment to their children and their families. They don't want to be in a city where the taxes keep going up to the point where they can't afford to even stay here anymore. And this is what's happening. Instead of bringing in business revenue, okay, Mount Vernon, 88% of the taxpayers here pay all of the taxes. 88% is by the homeowners. Only 12% is business. We need to focus on business, which pays a higher utilization tax. It not only does that, it creates jobs, okay? It takes our youth off the street, and it puts people, you know, like I always said, the best way to deter crime also, when we want to add that to it, is to make sure that we're giving people jobs.
Did you understand the question?
Yes, I did.
So, you know, there's actually a lot that I agree with you on. And you said a little bit ago that maybe we need to sell the $40 million in tax liens. And so the very people that have retired in our community, who have sold into our community, and who want to pass their homes down to their children for different reasons over their lifetime have had some troubles in the past few years. And taxes, these taxes are not just from the past 3 years, they're about from the last 7 to 15 years. And selling these liens to predatory companies is really going to be irresponsible and will displace about 1,500 of your neighbors. And it could be your friends and your families, right? And so just foreclosing on homes and selling them to predatory tax lien companies is not the responsible thing. Our comptroller has been doing a very good job in collecting some of the back taxes. He continues to do that. We are working on settlements with families, and we will do that. There will be some homes that will be foreclosed on, but that is not the first line of attack. That's the first thing. Secondly, under this administration, in 3.5 years, the Industrial Development Agency, of which I serve as the chair, has not given out one pilot, nor have we authorized the County of Westchester, which is serving as the project lead until we get our certification back, which is happening any day now, have we authorized them to do it. Furthermore, we have been able to collect through the IDA in this administration over $3 million in back payments through the IDA that had not been collected. We have done a UTEP, which means a universal tax exemption policy. And gone are the days with the backdoor deals where a friend gets money in a 30-year pilot. We have hired a consultant who the developer has to pay for, and we are doing cost analysis to ensure that any developments coming into Mount Vernon pay their fair share of taxes.
In lieu of time,
I
I'm
get
going to
1
give you a
minute.
chance. We're going to do 30-second rebuttals.
Yes, I get my
30
1
seconds.
minute.
30 seconds, please.
Okay, first of all, you didn't give out any pilots because you can't. The Paris report was never completed under the prior administration that you did work for and was a part of. That's one. So you were sitting here telling everybody that you haven't given out any pilots is disingenuous. It's because the IDA was shut down because the Paris report was not completed and the audits were not done. That is why. Second of all, when it comes to taking away homes, I'm not for taking away anybody's home, okay? We have 1,400 foreclosures that you always talk about, okay? Those 1,400 foreclosures, you gotta be able to work with banks to be able to help them, to assist them with third parties. It's called P3s, private-public partnerships.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. We are working with the National Association of Real Estate Brokers as well as different lending agencies. We have been able to bring that list of 1,400 down to about 500 because others have made repayment plans that will be sustainable and bring that money into the city of Mount Vernon. And we have completed all of our Paris reports, and we have completed 4 years of audits for the IDA, and we are about to finish 2022, bringing the IDA current, and the County of Westchester had to have authorization through the city to give pilots. People came before them, we denied them. Thank you.
I would like to piggyback on the question of our police and their financial obligations that this city owes to our police department. When I say financial obligation, that $11 million I keep hearing about, is it $11 million?
That's the school district.
That's the school district? Yes. That's back money that's owed to the police. I was told
School
that.
district.
It's still the school district? Yes. My bad. I apologize. We can move on.
Do we want to talk about the 11 million of owed to the school district?
No.
Okay, give them each a minute since we brought it up, and some people said they want to hear about it.
Okay, you have 1 minute.
Well, yes, we do. Go right ahead. The $11 million that is owed to the school district, I know they keep on saying that goes back and it's Deborah Reynolds and all that stuff. Deborah Reynolds has been gone for 2 years now. It has nothing to do with collecting the taxes prior to that. It is money that's outstanding that the city of Mount Vernon needs to pay the school district, because if you look at the reports, and I have a copy of one of the reports right here, our schools is in level 3. There is only one school in all of Westchester County and all around that is a school at level 3. We have no money. It's fiscally strapped because the city has not done its job. Okay, and you know, you were right about the past pilots and all of this stuff, because that hurts the school district, because every time they did those pilots, they never sat down with the school to negotiate that, okay, which should have been done, because that's money being taken away from the children. And like you said, 68% is going to the school. 68% of all of that money that we're not collecting is depleting and is hurting our children. And if you look at the statistics, it's not me, it's the state report.
So again, just to be factually accurate, it was $11.7 million, and that was $11.7 million in taxes that had not been collected from residents. We cannot pay the school district what we were not able to collect. In the past few months, we have been able to collect about $800,000, and so that number is decreasing. Secondly, the school district chose to take over the tax payments and felt that they could do better. Actually, over the past 2 years, they have not been able to collect $12 million in taxes. And so on average, for the past 4 years, about $6 million has not been collected. So whether the city is collecting it or the school district is collecting it, clearly there is a financial strain in the community where residents have not paid their taxes. And if the residents have not paid their taxes to the city cannot pay what we have not collected. If we collected it, we would have paid it. As as we collect it, we are paying it. And that is facts. The school district has been unable to collect in the past 2 years $12 million.
Thank you.
30 seconds. In my 30 seconds, yes. No, this is
she
my
didn't.
30 seconds.
No. If she calls you out, she didn't call you out.
Well, do I get my 1 minute?
No, that was just a 1 minute. I threw 1 minute out for that question. That wasn't a scheduled question, because people wanted to hear about it, so I gave y'all each 1 minute. I have a question. First off, anybody who has questions, please raise your hand so cards can be given to you, so you can fill them out, and we can try to get to as many of the audience questions as possible. I'm going to do something a little different. I have one question for each of you, and that's directed to each of you. There is no rebuttal, but it's just a 2-minute question. So the first one is for Andre. In the last election, there were a lot of questions about you being a Republican. I bring this up because we're in a county that has a history of Republicans running as Democrats to win elections. He's never been a registered Republican. Wait, no, we don't, no, for the audience. So listen, okay, we're in a county where several people that are Republican have registered as Democrats to win elections, including Yonkers Mayor Mike Spano, including former District Attorney Janet DeFiore. Our own county legislator, David Tubiola, is now a Democrat who was a Republican, whose father ran the Republican Party in Yonkers. So I asked this question, are you a Republican? Have you ever been a Republican? And are you currently a Republican? You have 2 minutes to address that.
I have never been a Republican, okay? I come from a family of Democrats. We've always been Democrats. My mother, my father, everybody in my family, we've always been Democrats. How this came about was before, at the last election 4 years ago, the mayor's team sent out a letter 3 days before the election saying that I was a hidden Republican, okay, that was working with Donald Trump, that was gonna take away everybody's rights and grandma's benefits and cut Social Security and all those other things. That mail-in came from the people who won, and I applaud them. It was a good trick and tactic, and it fooled everybody. So I give them credit for that, but it was untrue. Now, how it goes is the Republicans never put up a candidate to run. They endorse who they think is the best candidate because there's not enough Republicans in the city of Mount Vernon, first of all. So they interviewed. Richard Thomas had the Republican line when he ran and won that time, okay? So does all the judges. They have all the lines when they run. When I went and I interviewed, the Republicans voted 87% that I was the best Democrat candidate for the race, okay? And some people said that they didn't interview. But I saw Richard Thomas at that interview, and I also saw Sean Patterson at the interview. And then Sean Patterson, and I'm mentioning her by name because I want her to get her 30 seconds of
Patterson Howard.
Patterson Howard, mayor, Madam Mayor, okay, denied that she ever went to the meeting. This was very disingenuous, okay? Not to the point where the Republican chair came out, called her out on black radio and everything else. And she still continued to deny. If you can't tell the truth about that, how could you tell the truth about anything else? How could we believe you if you are continuously disingenuous? That is not a way to do. Real leadership is by people who are ready to step up and tell the truth. We take responsibility for what we do, our actions, good or bad. That's how it goes.
So these, again, this question was meant for each of y'all to have a question with no rebuttal, but your name was mentioned, so I have to give you 30 seconds to respond.
So I was offered an interview, and being a person who was gracious and polite, I accepted it. But my platform did not meet the Republican standard because I'm not a Republican. I don't operate or move like Republicans, and so I did not get the nomination. You getting 87% speaks to the fact that you were more in line with Republican philosophies than I was. So congratulations and thank you. I denied seeking it, not sitting with them. I did not seek it. I accepted an invitation for an interview.
Okay. So
Untrue.
I want to.
That's first.
Okay. So
Excuse me, sir.
I want to a question for the mayor, and So, in your state of the city, and I want to give you a chance to speak to this because there's been some controversy, people going back and forth. In your state of the city, and on more than one occasion, you said that crime is down. Can you explain to the residents what are you comparing it to? Because as I researched it, it kind of contradicts the statement. We've had 3 or 4 killings this year already, which is already more than a few of the previous years. We had a lady who was shot while getting her hair done in a hair salon on 4th, and I believe, and the guns are going pop almost regularly. So I don't know how, and we're not even at the summer yet. My question is, just so we clarity, what are you comparing it to? Because 2021 was bad. 2022 was worse than 21, and 2023 is already starting off worse than 22. So I wanted to know, what were you comparing when you say crime is down?
The weekly crime statistics offered by the Mount Vernon Police Department that I don't create. And so, if we go back to 2016, there were 11 murders, 2017, 7, 2018, 7, 2019, 2, 2020, 9, 2021, 5, 2022, 4. That is a decrease from 2016 and also over the last 21 years. Rape down, robbery pretty steady, aggravated assault over the years, when we look at a 20-year or even a 10-year history, pretty steady. It goes up and down. Burglary or larceny, grand larceny is absolutely up. If someone steals a credit card or a check, that's grand larceny. Anything over $1,000, property crime, grand larceny. Grand theft auto, people are stealing cars. Property crime, people are stealing catalytic converters. Property crime, and as of June 11th, the number of homicides was 3, and in 2022, the number of homicides was 3, so we're actually flat year over year for homicides right now. They're not up. What the PBA continues to refer to is assault with a firearm. Assault with a firearm just means someone can say someone had a gun. When we're looking at shots fired, there were 50 shots fired or reported last year at this time. Now there are 44 this year down. There were 30 shots fired confirmed at this time last year. This year, it is 20, also down. We have to look at the details and not one line that people like to pull out. There are 7 areas of statistical categories by the federal government of crime. We are down in the 4 areas of violent crime. We are up, as everyone else is in the country, in the areas of property crime because of the financial times that we are living in.
What's your question from the audience? This is a question from the audience.
Do I get 30 seconds?
No, she didn't mention you. I don't think she. No. I mean, that was my rule. If you mentioned the person, they get 30 seconds.
Oh, sorry. That question was just for her.
That was just for her question.
Got
Yes. The Republican question was just for you, but you mentioned her though, so I had to let her speak. Someone in the audience asked. Okay, let me rephrase this so it's not an attack. The animal shelter. I'll rephrase it, but I got a question. So the animal shelter, there was a press conference about the animal shelter being reopened. And I talked to somebody from the animal shelter, and they said that the building was condemned. So somebody was asking, why didn't you save the animal shelter close to the election? That was the actual question from the audience.
So the question for the audience, the city of Mount Vernon owns over 17 municipal properties, and I would say about 80% of them can be condemned based on lack of ongoing maintenance and investment in them. There were properties like the animal shelter, and if you go back to the news, since 1984, the animal shelter has been cited for all of its physical challenges and capital improvements and poor operating standards. Sometimes adults have to make hard decisions that are not politically popular. I made the hard decision to close the animal shelter because it was inhumane for the animals. It was built as a 7-day shelter to hold animals until they were killed or they were adopted. And over the past 45 years, it has turned into a no-kill shelter that has held big dogs like pit bulls for 3 to 4 years. It has never been properly staffed. It was never properly built for its current use, and it did not fit the current use. And so why did the press conference happen just weeks before the election? Because the state budget was passed in May. And the state budget included $1 million that we began to advocate for. The state budget included $1 million that we advocated for when we were in the process of temporarily closing it, signing a 1-year contract with a 1-year renewal.
I have a 30-second bonus question. There was a press conference that it is opening, and I've been, on my other hat with Black Westchester, I got a lot of calls asking me, when is the animal shelter reopening?
The press conference never said it was reopening now. It says we now have money to move forward in the planned either renovation or total rebuilding of it. We are having engineering reports done so that we can properly build the animal shelter. We are working to get more. Heat rises, and when you have heat ducts on the top of the building and the animal's water is frozen, that is inhumane. When the structure and the roof is made with fiberglass, inhumane. We have to stop offering bottom line services in the city of Mount Vernon and expecting it to be good.
You have another question?
Okay, do I get my 30 seconds now?
No, that question was for her because
Well, I have
they
30
said
well, I-
that they said she closed. Why did she close the animal shelter? Was the question, and I can't ask you why
Okay.
you closed it and you didn't close it. So,
No problem.
Okay, this is just something that will allow you to breathe for a minute and just relax. Okay? What sets you apart from your candidate running mate? What sets you apart from your candidate running mate?
Going to the animal
minutes.
shelter, first of all, okay, all of that is not true, okay? The animal shelter, through all of the years, was always operated, always had violations, was always taken care of. It ran into disrepair under the Patterson administration over the 3 years. The state reports prove it. Papers don't lie. Reports don't lie. And furthermore, I'd like to thank Chris Madonna for putting that out and allowing everybody to understand that she was being disingenuous about what was happening. Now, what separates me, first of all, between me and my opponent, is I tell the truth. That's one. Second of all, integrity matters. Truly matters. So what I say between her and I'm a businessman. I can see the future of the city. I understand how it runs. I understand how it works. I don't depend all on grants and stuff. I know how to build businesses. I've been doing it all my life. I've been doing it watching my parents. It's come down to me for the last 30 years. I've been in business myself, okay? And creating my own wealth. I don't live off of the community. I don't live off of City Hall. I am a job builder, okay? 10 years ago, I just downsized from 118 employees. I'm down to about 27 employees, okay? So I do my own business. I create jobs, I train kids, I put them into positions to earn. I teach people how to fish so they can survive. I don't teach them how to end up on, living off the government. The difference between her and I is I'm not going there to City Hall to get a job. I'm going there to do a job. She needs the job.
So I just want to ask everybody in the audience, when the candidates are speaking, please let them speak, even if you don't agree with them, so we can hear, and that for both candidates. And it's on you. There's no rebuttal for this either. This is
on me.
Yeah, no,
So
it's
what
you.
sets me apart is my professional education, my professional experience. I have character, I have integrity. We agreed at the beginning of this debate not to sling mud and call names. Please don't clap because I only have a few seconds, so please don't clap. And I have held to that standard in the past, 65, 70 minutes. So again, I know how to build relationships. I know how to connect. I know how to get people to understand and see the vision for Mount Vernon and invest in it. And people from all around the country are investing in Mount Vernon, not for their own selfish gain as prey, but because they understand the quality of Mount Vernon and what we need. And again, bringing almost $400 million into Mount Vernon in a time of national economic decline is unprecedented. So my ability to build relationships, bring in money from local, state, county, and federal is very clear, and it sets me apart. Mount Vernon needs assistance, and our taxpayers cannot provide us with that level of assistance. So partnerships and relation building are very, very important and critical. Also being able to build relationships and execute a plan and develop a plan and implement a plan. Again, Memorial Field is open. The 3rd Avenue, the 6th Avenue, the 10th Avenue bridges are open. The Fulton Avenue and the South Street bridges are under construction right now. The fastest turnaround ever in the history of Mount Vernon. Working with Con Ed, no longer do we have half-paved streets, but we are paved from curb to curb and corner to corner like Bronxville and Eastchester. I have the ability to fight for equity for Mount Vernon and make sure that we are holding people who work with us to a standard and do not allow Mount Vernon to be treated like a second-class community. And also, I am not making my money off of the city of Mount Vernon other than a salary. My education can allow me to go anywhere, but I have chosen to be in Mount Vernon. I am not a lifelong politician, and I don't plan to be one. I just want to get the job done while I'm here in office.
Mount Vernon, I know you love your candidates, but please, when you're clapping, you're stopping them from moving forward, and you're blocking out the sound. Please maintain your excitement.
To the end. Okay, so there's no rebuttal for this. These are audience questions, one for each of you. Andre, can you speak about your building? You allegedly took from a 501c3 organization and then used to bail out a drug lord for $1 million. 2 minutes.
I'm going to entertain that. First of all, so people don't know, 28 East 1st Street was an abandoned building that they was going to tear down. I end up putting $250,000 of my own money into it. I used the building as a training program and facility. The youth of the community built that building that stands. That's where we house all of our training. We are the first accredited training program and school around Mount Vernon or around our area, period. That was done. Talking about bailing out a drug dealer, yes, I bailed out a drug dealer because it's one of my businesses and I could.
What is your business?
As going into bail bonds, okay, that's one of my few businesses that I have. That's part of the business. Yes, the problem is some people are jealous because they just upset that I can put up $1 million to bail out someone. That is the problem. Because I don't see them saying it about anybody else, you know? Period. So I don't know why that is an issue at all. So when they keep on bringing this up, that doesn't allow, this was a business. The business has gone down lately because we have a new bail reform, but that is a business. Bailing people out is a business. And also, we always talk about second chances. I believe everybody deserves a second chance. I believe that everybody has the opportunity to change. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Question from the audience for the mayor. Housing regulations and rent. What can be done? The average city hall worker cannot afford to pay the rents demanded. What regulations can be made to protect the constituents?
So again, I'm sorry.
So New York State housing law dictates a lot of that. We can implement some things through the city council around legislation, but really over the last 20 years, housing prices in America have risen by 40% at a much faster pace than inflation and pay. And so it is a national housing crisis. That is a challenge that is very real. And so what we have to do and what we have focused on is really job training programs that help to raise the salary of our residents, because housing prices nowhere, Mount Vernon or anywhere, are going to go down. We have to make sure our residents are economically mobile and that they can compete for living wage jobs. And so, as it was stated earlier, we can't focus on the government to always bail us out. We have to give our residents a hand up, and that is what we have done with job training programs. And I want to give him his good minute, because earlier he did state that I focus on grants and social welfare. Well, his business of job training was almost fully funded by DSS, the City of Mount Vernon, Westchester County, CDBG, HUD funds, and other federal monies. And so if we're going to talk about grants that the city gets and we use to dispense services to our city, we also have to talk about that the fact that your company that you use to provide training to young people in the community was built off of city, county, state, and federal grant funds that you just criticized a few moments ago.
30 seconds.
First of all, that's not my company. That's Youth Bill, okay? That is not a company. That's government company,
30
okay?
seconds.
Second, that's NCCER. That's not creative direction. So you're disingenuous and you don't know what you're talking about. That's one. And two, my company is very successful. For track record, you can go and look on it online, okay? We built the New Rochelle wastewater treatment facility. That's why I know we have a storm drain drop problem and not a major sewer problem. We also built the Terrytown one. We built parks. We built all the way down to Marcus Garvey Park, a theater, and the Wartburg. We build a lot of things. We're very successful.
Mr. Wallace, another audience question directly for you, and this is not a rebuttal thing, this is audience questions. Mr. Wallace, your plan calls for hiring 40, I guess, additional police officers?
Yes.
That's an additional $4 million to the budget. What's your plan to fund that?
Well, basically, we're short police officers, and the mayor said herself that we're budgeted for 212. So obviously, I can take another 40 and put them in there, correct?
2 minutes.
And the money would be there. And that's not even, so the money is there. And I'm not saying, I'm not making this up. She said it. I'm using her words. So obviously the money's there. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring back officers. We're going to train them here. We're going to make sure that we put our test forward and that we've set up protocols so that when they are here on our streets, okay, they're not staying here for 5 minutes and leaving, okay? We're going to maintain our police, and we're going to treat our police with respect, dignity, and we're going to pay them what they deserve. The problem I see all the time is we would pay hundreds of dollars. We'll pay $1,000 to go to a concert and all that, but we won't pay money to take care of our police that take care of us, that take care of our firefighters, that when we're running out of a building, they're running into a building, to take care of our children that spend a third of the day of our children's lives together. We need to get our priorities correct. That's the problem. So we need to change these things, turn it around, and make sure that we're paying the people honest wage for honest work.
I'm grateful that there are civil service laws, because people have to take a test, they have to be put on a list, they have to go through a physical exam and a mental health exam, and we just don't have those lists. Those lists have expired, they've run out, and so there are not 40 people that we can pull up to on any corner. Please don't clap right now, you're messing with my time, and hire them. It has to be a process. And so yes, we have vacancies, but those vacancies still have to go through a process, and as the mayor of the city and a former councilman, I would really expect you to understand what those rules and those processes are and act and not act as if it's something that we could do overnight.
That's why I know we can do it.
30 seconds. Mayor, I have one more question for each of you, and then we're going to give you your wrap-up time, and then we're going to close out and try to be out of here. We said 8, so we're going to respect everybody's time. It is 7:48 now. Mayor Sean Patterson Howard, what is your plan to address the wave of foreclosures coming to Mount Vernon? That's question X of you.
So that's one of the things that we began to address, working with our comptroller, Darren Morton, who I know has done an incredible job in the past 18 months and a hard job. We have sat down with different lien companies. We have sat down with investment banking companies. We have sat down with national real estate brokers. We have sat down with local real estate brokers and faith-based organizations. And we actually just got a grant from Bill Gates Foundation to work around this situation of economic mobility and legal wills and trusts, and working to make sure that our seniors do not lose their houses. That is what we're doing. But what we will not do immediately is turn around and sell the liens to predatory companies who will come in and without any consideration for the fact that people have worked all of their lives to have these homes, and evict them, take their homes, and then sell them to the highest bidder, and continue to have our community turned into rental properties as opposed to ownership properties. That is what we will not do. We will do it slowly, we will do it intentionally, deliberately, and with respect to our residents, but while making sure that we're applying the proper amount of pressure to get the money that Mount Vernon is owed, so that we can take care of our debts, give contracts, pay back the monies that we owe to the school district. But it is a balance. We can't be a bull in a china shop, because then everyone gets hurt and trampled.
Excellent.
These last two are 1-minute questions. Phone microphone, there we go. These last two are 1-minute questions, 1-minute answers. I'm hard to read this, but Mr. Wallace, you were a city council president and acting mayor. What prevented you from holding the then controller Reynolds, accountable, accountable on the other side, yes.
First of all, I
1
wasn't.
minute, 1 minute, go ahead.
First of all, I wasn't the acting mayor. I was the mayor.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's correct that, first of all. Second, okay, I didn't have a big problem with Deborah. When I walked in to being the mayor, with all the bills that were there, okay, I was able to sit down and make 3 piles, bills that we could agree on, things that we had to work on, and things that we couldn't agree on. And we got things done. This is about working with people, okay? The current mayor wasn't able to work with them. I could tell you this much. Under Deborah Reynolds, I was able to get fire engines for the city of Mount Vernon. We was able to pave streets for the city of Mount Vernon. We were able to complete Memorial Field and the cleanup of Memorial Field, okay? All of these things, we were able to get our bills paid. It's because it was how you work with people. Some people, sometimes it was difficult, but we always got it done. You never heard me say it was Deborah Reynolds or somebody else. When I was in office, I was in charge. I took the blame, and I also made sure that whatever was being done was out to open to everybody.
1 minute, we don't have a lot of time.
30 seconds, and we go to the next question. Roberto.
So working with Deborah Reynolds meant transferring $2 million of money that was supposed to pay our county water bill from the water department to a Memorial Field fund that was unaudited, illegal. Transferring $1 million from our pipe lining program from the water department to the Memorial Field fund, which should never have been done. $3 million, you didn't find $3 million, you took $3 million that was never appropriated for that purpose. I have the email from Wilson and Chan, who were your private attorneys, which directed staff to transfer $3 million. That is a travesty, and I never applied for charges because I did not want to continue to drag Mount Vernon down in litigation, but we still owe the money to the county that you transferred and did not pay our water bill.
30 seconds. Mentioned me.
No, she
mentioned me.
It's the same thing. She mentioned him.
30 seconds, she mentioned me. Okay, first of
And
all.
please don't mention her so we can come on.
First of all, everything was incorrect. Second of all, let me tell you how it went since you wasn't there, Madam Mayor. We end up going to court. We sat in, excuse me, can I
Go ahead,
speak?
go ahead.
We sat in Judge Lore's office for a year going back and forth. That money was owed to the city because Maureen Walker and I have documents showing that she was been trying to get that money for some time, okay? The money was in there. I didn't pick out that money, okay? The people that were in the water department said this was the money that belongs to the city. That's what was turned over to the city, nothing else.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have one last 1 minute question. We're not going to do any more rebuttals because we'll be doing this all night. We got very few minutes. So this is one question from the audience, and I will read the person's name since they signed it. Since the first person who signed his card. The city, by law, is the only municipality entity that can foreclose on properties. Therefore, even if the Mount Vernon City School District is now collecting their own taxes, the city is still responsible for making the Mount Vernon City School District whole. Over 2 years has elapsed. This is state law. Sincerely, Thomas Keller.
So sincerely, Mr. Thomas Keller, you are absolutely right. But what the school district is responsible for doing is providing a certified list to the city of Mount Vernon. The city cannot collect taxes from people who they don't know who owe the taxes if the taxes are being collected by the school district. And the school district has not handed a list to the city that is certified as required by New York State education law to the city of Mount Vernon so that we could pursue those taxes. Then we cannot pursue who we do not have a list of that owes taxes. And that is according to New York State education law, as you so aptly stated.
Okay, we are missing a phone from inside the church. Can I ask if anyone found a cell phone in a green leather cell phone case? If so, please bring it up to the table. Each of you have 3 minutes to sum up. Anything you want to sum up? How? You have 3 minutes to sum up to your closing, and you started the first, so you will start the closing first.
Thank you.
Please be mindful of the time. Please.
3 minutes, and there's no rebuttals on this. It's just 3 minute closings.
I'll keep it very brief. Everyone who came out was able to hear the both of us, okay? A lot of misinformation will still continue to be guided out here, okay? For one, with the mayor saying, okay, that's my personal attorney. Those attorneys was hired by the council, okay? That was part of the Memorial Field negotiation. She wouldn't know that because she wasn't there. She only takes the credit for it, but she had nothing to do with it. These are the facts that we need to know. People need to be genuine in what they are stating. When you say that you did the bridges and that was one of your biggest accomplishments as being a mayor, it's not true. So we need to focus on some kind of truth here. I could tell you how it happened. Richard Thomas, mayor standing in the back, was the one who did the 14th Avenue Bridge. I won't collect credit for what I didn't do, but I did the rest of the bridges. I met with MTA and I published the schedule of when it was going to be done so everyone can see the schedule. You cannot come and say now it's your biggest accomplishment, because if that is, that's a problem. Okay, the only thing I know I can give credit for is the 3rd Avenue Bridge, because you allowed a building to be put up where it shouldn't be put up without engineering reports, and now we have a building that is sitting there empty and a bridge that's a problem for the whole community that we got to figure out how to pay. No engineering reports, and I'm still trying to figure out how that building was able to be there without going through a planning department, the zoning department, and nobody seems to find any documentations on it. That's a problem. So we have a clear choice. We could continue going down this street, or we can change it for something better. Mount Vernon deserves better. We are going to head down the same road. They are going to raise the taxes again and again and again because they have no business plan or background on how to pay for a $15 million lawsuit that we lost, that I told them that we shouldn't go against, that I could have settled for $1 million. A $4 million lawsuit that I told them not to go to court, that we lost on again. Where is this money going to come from? That's $20 million. That's about 38% tax increase just to pay for that alone. We got to do better. There's a choice. We could keep this continuity, which is bad continuity, or we could change to something better. A businessman that knows what he's doing, that can take us and lead us in the right direction and make sure that we do it right. There's not much I fear when I go into business, and I've been very successful with it. There's only 3 things I do fear: God, IRS, and a scorned woman. That's about it. So those are the 3 things I fear. But going forward in business, okay, we need to operate this as a business and make it work for everyone and all the taxpayers. That's what I'm about. That's where I stand. Thank you.
3 minutes for the mayor.
So in closing, my opponent continues to speak about being a businessman and successfully completing projects in Tarrytown and other communities. But the city of Mount Vernon paid his construction company over $1 million to complete an emergency operations center on the 2nd floor of the fire department that is still not operational. And they came in on the day that FEMA did the inspection. He had a part for an elevator that he put in. The elevator worked for 1 day. The part was removed. The elevator has not worked since then. And so you've completed projects in other communities, but Mount Vernon paid you for a project that you never delivered on, and we do not have an emergency operations center. Facts, FEMA money. So here's my pledge to you. I will continue to work on the comprehensive plan so that we can have a land use plan and an economic development plan and a revitalization plan for our downtown. I will continue to work to pave roads. We have dedicated $11 million to road paving, and we are doing that. We will continue to tear down nasty zombie homes because we will make sure that we can legally tear them down, and then we will execute them. We have been doing that. We will continue to raise money to address our sewers. We have $163 million, but it's about a $350 million problem. We'll continue to invest in our neighborhoods. We will continue to invest in our city-owned buildings, working with HUD and Section 108. We will be getting about $8 million to invest in the Dole Center, our firehouses. We will use ARPA money, which can be used for the police department. Different funding streams can be used for different things, and you have to know what can be done with what. We are working with private investors to build a state-of-the-art youth facility over on the property of the Dole Center. We will be working with the state to reopen Hutchinson Field and continue to replace and replenish parkland. We will continue to expand economic development opportunities, especially for our downtown like 3rd Street and 4th Avenue, because we have private investors who are willing to pay full freight to revitalize that neighborhood. We will continue funding code enforcement and plan examiners in our building departments so that we create systems that our residents know how to access, and everything is not based on a gatekeeper and who you have relationships with so that you can get things done. We'll continue to be fiscally financial so that we can rebuild our fund balance. We will continue to do our audits so that we can regain our credit rating. We'll continue to invest in the public safety departments throughout Mount Vernon. We will continue to expand the work that we're doing around ambulances because we will be opening the first ambulance service in the city. We cannot continue to operate with 2.5 ambulances. We must fix the broken EMS. And I met with the new director of Mount Vernon Hospital today on his 2nd day, and we will be committing to work with them to not just save Mount Vernon Hospital, but transform it into the medical center that it needs to serve a community that has disproportionate health outcomes. Thank you very much. I'm glad you all came. Have a blessed night, and thank you NAACP and the City of Mount Vernon for coming out and listening to the questions, hearing our answers, and being able to decipher as adults and well-learned and understood people the facts from the rhetoric.
I want to thank both our candidates for giving up their time to do this. I think we are the only gathering that has the both of you there. So hopefully the residents got something out of this. I know there were more questions that they wanted asked, but we have a little more time before the election. You can go both their websites. They both have a plethora of events and cottage parties. You go to one of them, you ask them anything you want. My closing words is for the audience. I have no intention to bang you in the head. about the importance of the black vote and how many have died for your vote, for you to have the right to vote. But I've heard several residents tell me that they either didn't like either candidate or that they plan on sitting this one out. So, in closing to them, I want to say, to the residents of Mount Vernon, your vote is not a Valentine, it's more like a chess move. People in Mount Vernon are walking around like there's such a thing as a perfect candidate. When you cast your vote, it does not require that you love or even like any of the candidates 100%, or that would be unrealistic and simply ridiculous. You aren't choosing a spouse or a life partner. This year, you're choosing a mayor and 2 city council candidates. Passion may be required to choose a spouse over a career, but love is not a requirement when choosing a candidate. A vote is not a Valentine. You are not confessing your undying love for a candidate. It's a chess move. We have prayerfully helped you get to know the candidates and what they stand for better. A vote is not a Valentine, it's more like a chess move. Your decision you have to make. Which one of these candidates do you think can move the city further? Mount Vernon should be the Wakanda of Westchester, but our leaders have been giving away our vibranium, and who will you think will use the resources best and bring in additional resources? And thank you, everyone. Thank you, Bishop Edwards, for volunteering his church. Thank you also for Dwayne Brown for volunteering to let us use Double Door, which we did not do, but he gave that to us for free. So I do want to shout him out. And I pass the mic to my president for any closing words.
Thank you. I would like our first lady of this particular house to stand up. Ms. Edwards. She opened the door. She's manning, make sure the mics are working, make sure everything's working back there. She's done an awesome job. And she didn't have to be here, but praise God she is, and she allowed us to come together. I won't hold you long. We're going to call Dr. Morton up for the last words and a prayer. Dr. Morton? Just pray.
Let us all bow our heads. Father God, we thank you for allowing us to be here today that we may hear these candidates. God, we ask that you will guide us and keep us. We ask that you will cover us as we go to our own respective homes. This we pray in thy name. Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Morton.
One more thing in closing. If you have anything, look around you, any trash, please pick it up and take it with you. Let's not leave this for the church because they gave us the church, so clean up behind yourself. And I don't know, and please look around and see if you find that phone and the green cover. What?